I am here with Kevin Wheeler, the founder of the Future of Talent Institute and an expert on all things AI and talent acquisition. Welcome, Kevin.
Thanks for having me, Buzz. Good to be here.
Great to have you back. Just to jump right in, you always been talking about how AI is changing everything in recruiting. You've been talking about it for a few years now. First simple question. What are the things you still see companies doing which you're surprised that they're still doing because AI is so much better at it?
Oh, there's probably a couple of things, but first of all, just sourcing in general. It would seem like for 80% of candidates, AI can easily source good candidates for you and probably do a better job in many cases than recruiters do. That I'm excluding the really tough things to source for, the hard to find ones, but I'm talking about the 80% of all the hires that we do, and it might even be more than 80%. Also, pre-screening, which I think, again, AI can do much more effectively than a human recruiter can, even though it's hard to convince recruiters of that fact. But I think, as you well know, the tools available are powerful today, very powerful.
All right. And what is the thing you see companies right now all over the world use AI the most for in talent acquisition?
Scheduling. That's probably the number one use, is just scheduling interviews. And you could do that before AI. I mean, there were tools that don't even require AI to do that. And I see that some companies are, at least to some degree, using the sourcing capabilities and the screening capabilities. But as I said a few minutes ago, I think it's very few are doing it as effectively as they could. And I think that could grow easily. Yeah,
Yeah. And all the companies that are not doing automated scheduling of interviews are absolute laggards as well, right?
that's crazy. I don't know why you wouldn't be automating it. It just the reasons I hear are that the HR internal interface doesn't allow it, or they can't access it, or their hiring managers don't use a calendar that's online. There's all sorts of excuses that are really not very technical. They're just procedural or operational.
Yeah. The company itself is the biggest hurdle to
Yeah,
getting that
it is the
efficiency.
biggest hurdle, or the hiring managers. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Do you see a difference in AI adoption around the world? Because you go everywhere, you go in Asia, you're based in America, you go to Europe, you do a lot in
Yeah.
Australia. What's the difference in AI use, and do you see differences in priority of what's being used in AI?
Probably not so much by country as it is by company or
Okay.
by and I think there are the high tech companies here. Generally, many of them don't have any recruiters to speak of, or one recruiter, and they're heavily relying on AI because it's their blood, right? It's what they do, right? Then you've got companies, old traditional companies that have big recruiting staffs, and they're not in a hurry to adopt AI for self-preservation, right? Why should we do this? Because it might mean that we're going to lose our jobs. So, uh, I think that clearly some of the companies in Asia are more likely to use this. Australia's not likely to use it at all, but much less use in Australia. That's just interesting. It's somewhat due with country culture of the country, but more than anything, it's the company that drives it. And if companies are forward-looking and technically savvy, they tend to have recruiters who are more likely to use AI, and vice versa.
All right. I'm really interested. You just said that then, and you, of course, you live at the edge of Silicon Valley, or technically almost in Silicon Valley, the way it's been expanding. You just said, I see a lot of tech companies almost having no recruiters or no talent acquisition and so on.
Yeah.
So you see hiring managers now in the TA's driver's seat because of AI?
Yeah, I think so. Especially, it's dependent on two things. the nature of the company and the age of the hiring managers. Okay. If they're in their 20s and 30s, which is very typical here in the Valley of these AI and other tech startups, they're very comfortable doing their own hiring. They're very comfortable using these tools. They've never developed the habit of relying on HR to do this for them or having recruiters do it for them. If you're in a company where a hiring manager has spent his entire career going to the recruiter to get a hire, they don't even think about not doing that, right? So for them to suddenly adopt an AI tool uh, is very unusual, right? Because it's not their habit. It's not how they were brought up. So it's generational to a large degree.
But you are saying that there are actually AI tools out there that really support a hiring manager in the entire process of pre-screening, sourcing, everything
Yeah.
that TA used to do.
I mean, there's really no technical barrier to having a 90% automated recruiting process. All right. It's for good AI tools can source the majority of candidates, like we said earlier, that you're looking for. They can screen them for you. They can do some sort of a good pre-assessment. They can rank them and however way you want to do that, however you want to set up your algorithms. Then you can have a personal interview with them. It can recommend a salary level. It can write the hiring offer letter. It can onboard them. I mean, there's nothing it can't do. It's operational. It's not a technology limitation, right? So it's really about adjusting your processes and your mindset to using AI. It's not because AI can't do it or it's not adequate. It's easy to, make excuses for those things. And of course, it's probably not 100% the same as you're going to do it in person. But the real question is it good enough? Is it going to do 80 or 90% of as good as it was? And the rule of thumb in most technologies, if it's 80% as good as whatever it was before, it's good enough.
Yeah,
And
and let's be honest, your recruiters aren't perfect either.
no, they're not. And they make as many mistakes probably or maybe more than the AI makes. But it's very easy to blame the AI and say, I've got to go back to a recruiter. That's just it's generational and human habit, nature, right?
Yeah. All right. What AI related change do you think talent acquisition is going to be seeing this year in 2026?
Well, I think I made some predictions in my article early this year, which I try to do every year. Not really predictions, just trends that I see.
Hmm.
Clearly, AI is not a novelty anymore. It's now mainstream operational. I think you're going to see more and more companies trying to figure out how to use it, how to adopt it. I think they already are. So even though utilization, as we said a few minutes ago, is not very high, I think the desire to use it more is there, and more companies are trying to figure out how to make it happen, how to operationalize it, how to, convince senior leadership that it's an okay thing to do. So we're in that implementation phase right now. And I think we're going to see that grow throughout the year, which is what I said at the beginning of the year. I don't think you're going to see widespread, fully automated recruiting functions this year for sure, and probably not next year either. But we're going to see a increasing comfort level with AI, with a better understanding of the ethics and legalities of using it. Uh, HR and legal departments more willing to accept it and allow it to come in the door. So we're in that adoption phase.
All right. And last question, if we look a little further out, 2, 3, maybe 4 years, what do you see talent acquisition looking like and on that timeline?
Well, there'll be a lot fewer people that we would call recruiters. I think, as I've said and written about before, I think the term recruiter is probably archaic. It's going to be like telephone operator. It's going to be, we don't really going to have them anymore. What you're going to have are specialized people who do certain things like employee engagement. specialists who really specialize in that whole thing, including closing candidates and interfere and working with hiring managers. Okay, you're going to see technology implementation specialists who really work with the validating algorithms, ensuring that the AI isn't hallucinating. So that's another whole specialty field, nothing to do with recruiting per se, but it's going to be used in that process, right? So you're going to see more of this oversight role of maybe people making decisions, at least for the first few years, of is this an ethical use of AI? Is this a place we should be using AI or not using it? I think eventually that will become mainstream, but for a few years, we're going to need people to help bridge that transition from yesterday to tomorrow. Um, so they're all going to be roles, specialty roles like that, that are going to be very critical, but they're not going to be anything like a recruiter today. And I think those roles will fade away. They're not going to disappear overnight. You know, they're going to be, we'll still have people doing that for certain roles, probably well into the next 5 years. Um, but it's going to be like so many other things, like the telephone operator, the elevator operator. They'll fade away over time.
All
And
right.
uh,
Final question. In 5 years' time, will a traditional big corporate have the hiring manager in the driving seat and only a rec ops which provides the technology, but no more recruiting staff?
yeah, I think that's inevitable. I think the hiring manager will take over. I mean, I go back to I'm old, right? I remember when people had secretaries and word processors that typed up their emails and their memos. And now we do it ourselves and we don't even think about it. Okay. It's the same thing. We've always had a recruiter to do our recruiting for us. You know, younger generation, as they move further up in the leadership chain, they're going to say, well, I don't need a recruiter. Why do I have a recruiter? There's no need for this. I'm going to do it myself. So yeah, inevitably, hiring managers will take over recruiting and they'll just look, they won't even think about it any more than we don't think about writing our own emails or writing our own documents anymore. And we don't go to a steno pool to get transcriptions of our work. So it's like everything else. It's going to evolve and move on. And I think, like I said, their term recruiter is already archaic. And 10 years from now, people will say, what was a recruiter anyways? People really did that. We had people who did that. That's just like we look back now and say, we really had people who typed things for a manager. And we kind of laugh and look back at that as something really, really old fashioned and kind of dumb. And I think we're going to look the same way about recruiting.
Right. Kevin, thank you so much for your insights.
Yeah, you're welcome.